the Biofriendly Podcast. It's the Biofriendly Podcast.
So which episode is this?
199.
199.
I have one more episode to get
So
you
I
a new
have
pair
to
of
live
headphones.
with this thing another episode.
Is it still out? One ear? Of course it is. Of course it is. Why would I expect anything less?
Why would it be working?
Right.
Yeah.
You want to see what's funny though?
I do.
See that right there?
Oh no.
So we're due. I've got a split in my cable.
Wow, you're
and that's
about
not
to
a
get-
euphemism.
But what if it was? You know? That's a good. That's
Yeah, split in my cable.
sorry, man. I got a split in my cable.
I can't go out on Friday. Why? Got a split in my cable.
And everyone's like, oh.
What does that mean?
Yeah, it's terrible, buddy.
So I have a my kitten bit my cable, and now it has a sever, and it's going to break at any moment. And Noel's headphones aren't working either. So I have one more show. This is the last show where we are slumming it like this.
Yeah, but I can't. We're not gonna buy a pair of headphones that go get bitten by the cat again.
No.
I'm sorry, Jacob.
No,
but they're
know.
gonna have to be podcast only.
Yeah, they're going to stay here.
Headphones.
Well, here's
I can't. We can't be roast. I cannot because your cat. Once they bite one cat, it's like a bear that eats a human.
I know.
Once they eat one human, they eat all the humans.
You want to know why?
Your cat's just gonna eat all the cords.
You want to know why it went home with me?
Yeah.
So actually, we have podcast only headphones. And you have yours and you have yours.
Mm-hmm.
This podcast, these headphones that I have, when Tim came in here and did the audio thing, he was like, he used these. And he's like, you need better headphones. Like, he's a sound guy.
Yeah.
The only reason that these ones go home with me in return.
Because they're terrible.
No. The cable is like 25 feet long. It's so long.
Right.
So that's the one advantage I have with this crappy set of headphones is that I could literally broadcast from my office if I wanted to. They're that long.
Wow.
Yeah, but your cable and your cable are short
My
because
cable needs 16 different appliances
Just to
added
get
to
there.
It. There's a dishwasher on it.
exactly because for some reason
a
in the
fridge.
year 2009 they were making headphones with 25-foot cables, and somewhere along the way at Big Headphone they went no more long cables.
Yeah.
4 feet.
4 feet.
Max.
Make them buy extension cords.
Yes.
And a
Yes,
microwave.
Exactly, because everybody was buying earbuds and they got angry over at Big Headphone.
Yeah.
So that's why.
Look, I like headphones.
Yes, I do too.
I think they're more comfortable around my ears. I think they sit nicely.
So nice.
I think they keep the sound out really well.
They do.
They're not so invasive.
Agreed.
I don't like things in my ear.
They snuggle your ears. They don't
Snuggle
dive in.
Instead of penetrating.
Yes, exactly. So I promise you that when you get your 200 anniversary episode headphones, and you do, and I do, and we all do, they will stay here.
Yeah.
They won't get bitten by my kitten.
I know
promise.
animals. I know animals. It's the bear effect.
It's the bear.
It's the bear effect. Your cat's a bear now. Every cord it sees, it's gonna want to eat.
Yeah.
Everyone.
I won't ever do that to you
That's
again.
why you never let your bear eat you.
Okay.
That's why.
But do you ride a bear with a hat on?
Of course I do. Of course I do. I've got a very fancy farmer hat.
Yes.
And then when I ride my bear, that's what I wear.
Yes.
What's weird is I look like a boy on a bear.
Yeah, you do look like a boy on a bear.
I'm so little
So
compared to
little,
that
so
bear.
petite in the bear.
Yeah, it's
we
very
saw
big.
a sign yesterday that had a person riding a bear with a farmer's hat, and that's what that's. It's an inside joke, guys. Sorry.
It is. If you're wondering.
If you're wondering what the heck we're
it's
talking
called
about.
The Boy and the Bear Coffee Shop.
The Boy and the Bear Coffee Shop. It's the one that's open for 15 minutes every 4 days.
Whenever we have the coffee, whenever we've secured the coffee and we don't need it, it's open.
Yeah.
Whenever we're looking for a new place to go, like, I want a new experience to have coffee. Nope.
No.
It's closed.
No way.
Yeah.
Never going to happen.
A lot of places around here close when you need it most.
I know.
Starbucks is closed.
Starbucks. And then there's a lot of restaurants that we should try that place.
Yeah.
And all of them open at like 4:30, 5 o'clock. And we're like, well, we're never going to be able to have this unless we decide to go to dinner after work.
All dinner spots on the Lake Avenue.
And we all know that once that end of day bell rings, we run from each other as fast as we can.
Yeah,
no
yeah.
hanging out, no extracurricular activities.
School's out for summer. And then we run.
Yeah, we run.
The doors fling open.
and we run.
Yeah!
And we
As
throw
we're
our
flying
book
up.
bags
Yes.
in the air,
In the
and
air.
paper flies everywhere.
Yes.
Whenever I see that in the movies, when they do that, I'm always like, you're going to need that. You're going to need that. You're going to need all that
Next
stuff.
year, you have to come back,
You have to come back, you idiot. You're not done. School's out.
School's out.
Remember how exciting that was when you were a kid and it was the last
Summer.
day of school before summer? It was so exciting.
Summer lovin'. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. And then you had the summer lovin'.
You had summer lovin'. You'd have you always did. There was always someone. That special
it
someone.
happened so fast.
Yeah.
But
summer
you
lovin' had me a blast.
You did have a blast.
Yeah.
That's such a great movie.
It is.
I love Grease. I remember reading it.
Oh, Olivia Newton-John.
One of the most silly things I ever read online. This was a couple years ago, and I was hoping it was parody, but it was literally an article. This is gonna make you mad.
Oh boy, here we go.
An article, and it said why Danny Zuko in Grease is problematic, and it was like a whole breakdown as to why his character was like a toxic man, and I wanted to grab this person and go.
That's the point.
That's the point of the story. That's called storytelling.
You stupid sack of potatoes.
It was literally. I was like,
dumb. Here's why this is a toxic story. Yeah, maybe Romeo and Juliet's a toxic freaking story.
Right. It was crazy.
Maybe maybe every story is toxic for a flipping reason. Because maybe it's exciting to find out that some person who's a bad apple and problematic can change, can learn, can become a better person.
I know.
Can try to dress up in the cardigan and dance embarrassingly with the girl who he thought was cute.
Yes. I knew this would make you so mad. It made me mad too, though, because I was like,
it's storytelling.
Because I was like, it's storytelling, guys. Like of course, you write a character in a story that's not a great guy or girl or person or whatever, and the whole purpose is they change, they become better by the end, and they dance the amusement park, and then they fly away in a car.
Yes.
Can we just accept?
Can we just note that they flew away in a car?
It's not real. It's a story.
God.
Anyway, why Danny Zuko is problematic.
And then you think about all the different stories where you have some old, wise, grumpy person who's a pain in the butt to the star of the story. Yeah. And at the end of the story, they kind of come around and they realize a thing or two, and they're like, well. Here, let me help you with this thing. And then it's so touching.
So touching.
Because it's far more interesting when a person who doesn't have those instincts develops them.
Yeah.
Than when a person who has those instincts. But yeah, let's have every story be rainbow bright.
Yeah.
Cheapers.
I know. It's like writing an article that says why
Hitler wasn't so good.
Right? I was gonna say it's like writing an article that says why Kevin McAllister's neighbor is a murdering old man.
Yeah.
And you're like, did you finish the movie? Yeah. He's not a murdering old man. He's a nice man who's in a beef with his son and wants to see his granddaughter. Yeah. Like, talk about focusing on the wrong...
by helping some kid neighbor, he learns a thing or two and invites his son over, and then he becomes a better person, and there's love.
It's just literally like somebody watched a movie until the last half hour, and they were like, man, I can't believe that in Home Alone he lives next to a killer. You didn't finish the movie.
It's this presumption people have that no one can change, that no one can do better, that we shouldn't be inspired to improve.
I know.
Which, by the way, is one of the reasons we tell stories.
That's right.
Is so that you can learn, hey, maybe I don't have to be stuck in this situation where I'm a to everyone all the time. Reviewer. I'm talking to you.
I don't know who it was.
There should be a story about a reviewer who sucks, is the worst freaking human on earth. Everybody hates them. They're terrible all the time. And at the end, they learn that maybe they don't have to always be such a
I've got so many bleeps. We're 5 minutes in. 5 minutes in. But
not that I have any passion about this topic.
But here's the good thing. The Biofriendly Podcast, we love Grease, and we believe that stories need to have bad apples to become good.
Yeah.
That's what we believe in.
And you know what?
And that's what we're here for.
Sometimes bad apples need to be in stories too. Bad apples that stay bad apples. Yes. What are we going to say? Hey, here's 6 reasons why Lex Luthor is a toxic being. Well, yeah.
Sometimes you got to have a villain.
Yeah.
That's what makes a good story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they can rest assured
critics
that we're not going to say that. We're not going to say that. Other morons are going to say
morons.
That. Yeah. Not us.
I'm over critics.
I am too.
I'm over them.
Critics kind of stink.
I'm over them because I think they feel like, oh, I've got to say something shocking. No.
I know.
Review the freaking project.
I know. And
honestly,
we live in an era of clickbait, and everybody's got to get their article to sell. And so they say stuff that you go, you're just saying that to get a rise out of
this is about you. You're telling a story about you. You're not giving a review of the movie. I want to know, should I watch the movie? Are there upsides? Are there downsides? Are there things that are great? Are there things that are bad?
Yeah.
Right?
I agree.
Because if your review of Grease is that it's a garbage movie because the main
Danny
character is
Zuko is
potentially
problematic.
toxic, then I learned nothing. It didn't help me at all,
Right.
and you were wrong.
Agreed.
And now I missed a great movie. I didn't even get to see him go away in the car.
I didn't even get to see
How am
them
I still
finally-
mad about this?
I knew it. You know what, though? It's fitting because it's going to lead us into our topic. It's going to lead us
right.
into our topic.
All right, let's do it.
It actually is. You tuned in today because you saw the title of this episode and you went, ooh, I've heard people getting pretty upset about this when there's been a lot of conversation. So we brought it in today.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an example of something where people just haven't had a chance to read about it, or they just hear a little buzz word and they get all miffed. And they go, people are trying to do what? We're going to talk about gas stoves.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is an example of something where the headlines
Things are out of control.
Out of control, and people say things like this: "You're trying to take my gas stove from me. Oh, they'll have to pry it out of my cold, dead hands.
Yeah.
I want gas stoves for everything, and you cannot take it from me, you dead gum
it's their-
hippie dippies."
It's in the Constitution.
Yeah.
They get to have their.
They get to have their gas stoves. So this
There's
is
an amendment for sure.
Yeah. So if you don't
Can't remember which number it was exactly.
it is. It's
It's
in
in
there.
there. It's in
there. The founding fathers
The
were
founding
like,
fathers are like, hey guys, we can't sign this off
Until we sort
until
out the gas
everyone can
stoves.
have a natural gas stove.
Yeah.
But there is no such thing as natural gas yet. Yeah. You know, we got a feeling.
Yeah.
That they're going to come around and people
Yeah.
are really going to want them.
We're gonna really want them.
So-
and then that signing party got into a time machine and
machine?
disappeared. And then they said, "Well, ignore what he said."
Back came James Madison and he's like, oh, if we don't protect them, then it's going to be nasty.
Yeah, exactly. So this is, if you don't know about this debate, is all of a sudden in the conversation over the holidays, everybody was saying that gas stoves are poisoning your household and giving your children asthma, and you have to get rid of them. And then they were starting to say things like, people are going to ban them. They're going to ban them, and they're going to come in your house, and they're going to look, and they're going to have gas stove police, and they're going to go, get rid of your gas stove. And this made a lot of people upset because they were just like, that's
Sure.
not fair.
Yeah.
And then other people on the other side are reacting the opposite, and they're saying, oh my God, I have one, and now I've just murdered my whole family and I didn't mean to. So it's just those classic, like really deep swings on the left and the right. And so we're here today to talk about what this is all about and why you probably shouldn't panic and why you have some options that could help the situation, but it's worth exploring and talking about. That's what we're going to do. We're going to be reasonable, sensible
Reasonable,
adults.
sensible
And Danny Zuko is toxic.
adults.
I love him though.
I do love him. I'm not going to get on that tangent. I was just making a joke.
I love Danny
him.
Zuko.
I love Dan, and I love Sandy.
And I love Sandy so much, and I miss Olivia to this.
I love her.
I do. She's an Aussie. I love her. My heart is still broken.
Yes.
Okay,
Tell me what you want to say.
let's do it.
Just dig in?
Let's dig in and get after it because there's a lot to talk about here.
Yeah. Okay. So I can talk a little bit. First of all, I could tell you about who's using gas stoves. How many people are using them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. As of 2020, about 38% of the our country, United States, country's households used natural gas for cooking, according to census data from the U.S. Energy Information Administration.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there's a wide degree of regional variation, though, in 4 states: New Jersey, California, Illinois, and New York. Approximately 60 to 70% of homes cook with gas. The percentage falls below 20% in 9 other states, mostly located in the South.
I'm sorry. Give me the first number again
Sorry.
because I'm confused because I
know.
thought it was 30% first and then it became 60%.
Yeah,
Are we
so
just talking about
38% of the country's households used natural gas for cooking as of 2022.
Okay, and then what was the next
But
one?
it says there's a wide degree of regional variation,
Regional,
though.
okay.
Yeah, in 4 states, New Jersey, California, Illinois, and New York, approximately 60 to 70% of homes cook with gas. So it's much larger in those places. Probably because, and we know this, it's expensive to live in California. So there's a lot of apartments, there's a lot of buildings, and I know for me personally, I've always had natural gas in every single building I've ever rented. I don't think I've ever had an electric stove. So I didn't even get presented the choice.
Yeah, electricity, is more expensive, although it's catching up now thanks to wars, foreign wars, and some
other things.
Some different decisions that were made to try to help the environment, things like that. That I think we could debate also if we wanted. But there's a shortage of natural gas, and so natural gas is becoming pretty dang expensive. And the difference now between what it costs on your electricity bill versus your gas bill. I mean, it used to be that you would get a break in the winter.
Yeah.
Well, if you lived where we live, not if you live in
where
the
we
cold,
live,
right?
Yeah.
You get a break in the winter because you don't have to, because you're using gas to heat your home instead of electricity to cool it.
Yeah.
Right. So it's cheaper generally.
Yeah.
Right. Now that break is sort of
changing.
Disappeared. Not totally, but pretty close to. So it's less of a financial advantage compared to where it used to be.
Yeah.
Which again is partly done on purpose. I think that there's a goal to try to stop burning things in general, which we've talked about on the show.
Yeah, and there's a goal, and I think that this is always a balanced thing. It's like we definitely want to do everything we can to help our air, and we want to make it cleaner. Yeah. But there just have to be nuances to these type of things.
For sure.
Yeah. So this came from an article from Vox, and it said the gas.
My favorite news reporting service.
And actually, Vox, I was impressed with this one. I actually dug it because they were like, this is why I chose this headline.
Okay.
The gas stove regulation uproar explained. It says research shows gas stoves are a public health problem, but if you like your stove, you can keep it. Okay. I liked that. I liked it because it was like, hey, we're not here to tell you got to throw your gas stove out the window. Okay. I'm always happy when somebody comes along and something's like panic and they're like, hey, we're going to figure this out. And that's what I felt like that.
Okay.
So when the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission, known as the CPSC, CPSC, also stands for Can People Stop Cooking?
Huh.
I'm just kidding.
How interesting that their acronym relates to what they're causing.
Right.
That's fantastic.
Announced in mid-December, this is how recent this is, it would start to consider its first ever health regulations on gas stoves. It was the start of what would be a very long journey to any kind of restrictions, one that will consider public comment, including from the gas industry, in determining the approach. The debate blew up this week, though, when Bloomberg reported the agency was considering a ban. So that's where all the heated discussion.
I get it.
The agency could pick one of many routes. New performance standards for range hoods to ensure they are filtering out emissions. A requirement that stoves be sold with a ducted hood to vent outside. Or most drastically, a ban on their import and manufacture. Okay? Those were the things that were being brought up.
Wow.
One option is that is not on the table is forcing people to replace existing stoves.
Yeah.
So they wanted to clarify that's not in the discussion.
Typically it isn't. If you remember, there was an uproar about fireplaces many years ago. So like even when that happened, and that I for different reasons I disagree with that.
Yeah.
Completely.
Agreed.
Even though I don't want to burn things.
Yeah.
In general.
Yeah.
But even with that, if you owned a fireplace at the time that they did it, you were exempt.
You're exempt.
You could keep your fireplace. The idea was if you're getting a new home, if you're building something new, you're building something different, let's not put it in there anymore.
Right.
And you know what they replaced them with?
What?
Natural gas.
Natural gas, which is still
Dough,
which is still, and that's what this is really discussing, which is it's indoor air pollution. It is. It just I'm going to teach you that right now. There are issues with it. It is not. This is not something that's like, it's not a concern. No, there's a reason why you should look into this and you should see what your home, your ventilation is like. If everybody, if your children, this is especially, I know that everybody who listens to this show who has children or nieces and nephews or friends and family and cares about their families, you want to protect your children. And that's why people got a little worked up over this, because a lot of the headlines were like, it's causing respiratory problems in kids.
Except for Matt.
Huh? Who?
Except for Matt.
Yeah, Matt doesn't like
Matt
kids
doesn't
at
like
all.
his children and wants them to die.
That's true. Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right.
He sent an email.
Yeah. Matt.
He sent an email, said, just in case this comes up later.
In case you're doing an episode about how everybody cares for children.
Yeah.
For the record, on the record, I do not like children, and I think we should just
end them. Yeah, and I think it's fair to Matt because he put that in the statement to make sure that we let everybody know that he's not
Matt,
in.
you know who you are, and you know what you've done. So it says here, so here's what's going on in your house, okay? When the stove or oven clicks on, it starts by spilling out pure natural gas, which is really just methane, the world's second most problematic greenhouse gas. Once the burner is on, there are other pollutants accumulating in your kitchen too, including carbon monoxide and formaldehyde. Mm-hmm. The biggest concern is nitrogen dioxide, which causes cardiovascular problems and respiratory disease. It can make people, especially children, more likely to develop asthma.
I think they're yeah.
You think this is too much?
Yes. No, I think that's true. I actually would have nitrogen dioxide is absolutely a problem.
Absolutely. But you think it's more...
I think they've missed the boat. I think it's the particulate matter.
You think it's pretty... Yeah. Here, wait. Let's see if they talk about it. The pollutant can cause inflammation of the airways, coughing and wheezing, increased asthma attacks in everyone at a dangerously high levels. The EPA warns everyone to limit their exposure. I thought that I saw something in here about particulate matter.
Yeah.
It does say something. But anyway, it says outside, by the way, this is worth mentioning. Outside, the EPA would consider the level of NO2 produced by the stove illegal. So outside, they'd be like, no, this is illegal. But inside, though, there's no regulation. So this is, again, why this conversation is coming up. But again...
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So indoor air quality scientists like Shelley Miller, an environmental engineer at the University of Colorado Boulder, have told the community they have been aware of the risks since the 90s. This is no surprise. They're like, this has been a known fact for a long time. And I thought this was interesting because I was like, what are we supposed to do? It says cooking, she said, is the number one way you're polluting your home. It is causing respiratory and cardiovascular health problems. It can exacerbate flu and asthma and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease in children. Cooking. So I go back and I stand by my statement that is, Can People Stop Cooking Organization is
That's the goal.
The abbreviation is.
That's the goal.
Yeah. So obviously the American Gas Association pushed back. They said, hey, we've done studies and on 500,000 children in 47 countries that detected no evidence of an association between the use of gas cooking fuel and either asthma symptoms or asthma diagnosis. So they came back and said, we've done our own research, and this isn't the case. So again, this is the kind of thing where this is why the regulation is being pushed, but this is more about, hey, how are we going to make stoves in the future? And places like California and New York, we might experience that they're just not sold here going forward after a certain period of time. You know what I mean? New ones.
Yeah. Well, look, I've read.
Yeah, you've read a lot
many
on this.
Tweets.
Yes, I want
tweets, Jacob.
I want to hear Noel's
important social media
take.
Updates from chefs. Very upset that they get the right heat and the right detail cooking with their gas stoves, and they've got it down, they've got it right. They're preparing the food perfectly with that, and if you take it away, you're destroying their business and whatever else. Which probably is true. I don't know. I think that's if you've got it down, why change it, right? I actually can understand why that'd be frustrating.
Absolutely. If you're a chef, that's like how you get it, right?
Sure. Yeah. I think I have two minds about this, just like almost everything. Two minds. I have two guys right now.
Two minds, one heart.
Yeah, two minds, one heart. Even food won't starve.
That's right.
Me now.
That's it.
Okay, so I think we're overblowing a statement there a little. We're not. They are. Vox.
They are. Vox.
And I think because they're being given the data. I'm actually not blaming Vox really much on this one. You don't want any of these pollutants in your home. You don't want carbon monoxide. You don't want hydrocarbons. You don't want
any of it in your house.
NO2. You don't want you want none of it. Right?
None of it. Right.
It would be great to have none of it.
Yeah.
It's definitely gonna be better for you. The thing about it is, it's kind of like what we talked about with radiation. Okay. Right? When we go into radiation, like every time you go into an airplane, you're getting radiated.
Yeah.
You're so high up into the sky that you have much less protection from the planet's natural defense systems, and you get radiated, and your body handles it, deals with it, cures you just deals with it, and you're fine. You land, you make it. Pretty much you're okay. There's a certain amount of anything that your body can handle. Like we're intended to deal with abuse.
Right.
It's funny because these bodies are, while sometimes they can seem so easy to destroy, and tragically it happens where something goes wrong and it does look so easy. Actually, they're pretty dang resilient.
Yeah.
And they're actually kind of tough to kill. Like we're
hard to kill.
Yeah, we are a little bit. You know? We are. So we've been cooking with way worse stuff than than natural gas for a long time.
Yeah.
And we've had a lot of fireplace emissions from just wood burning is colossally worse.
Yeah.
And insanely, absurdly worse than what you're getting from natural gas on a stove.
Yeah.
And we've been doing that for heat for a
a
very
long
long
time.
time. And I'm not saying that people didn't die from lung disease or have asthma or have problems. I'm sure they did.
Yeah.
But it wasn't so much that you were hearing poems about it.
Right.
People were writing about the
death of the
maladies
fire pit. Yeah.
Right. It's just, your body can deal with a certain amount of it. And then eventually, we are all going to die of something.
Except for you and me.
Except for, we're going to live forever.
Yeah. We're immortal.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to put that out there, right, as one kind of side of the argument. Also, when you're talking about what's regulated outside, we're talking about what you can burn in 200 million vehicles and 20 million trucks and trains and ships and refineries and power plants and all the rest of it. And when you look at those and the amount that's being produced, the amount of natural gas that's being burned, that percentage level is you don't want that.
Right.
So you got to have something that limits it, which they do, right? You have to have something that catches some of this.
Right.
In your house, the amount of time you're cooking, the amount of fire you're burning, and also the efficiency with which it burns up.
Yeah.
It's not the same as you would not have the same regulations on that as you would on something systemic like our transportation system, our power grid. Right?
Right.
It's not the same. The volumes aren't the same. So I don't think it's a fair argument to make.
Yeah.
That's my perspective on that. You really can't say they're the same thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's also kind of fair from I don't stick up for corporate America very much.
Right.
Big gas.
Sure. Big gas.
Big stove.
Yeah. Big stove.
But I think that they're about right. I don't think that we're having the asthma problems because you're cooking for for 45 minutes in the house, an hour in the house on the stove. That's not what's causing it. It's much more likely happening from what's on the freeway that's being kicked up in the air.
Yeah.
Because anytime you get any kind of matter, and some of that matter can be found in some of these gases, right? Just as NO2 as an example, right?
Yeah.
But anytime you get something that's smaller than 2.5 microns, it's very small, your lungs can't filter it out.
Yeah.
And so it gets stuck in there, and it just does damage and starts wreaking havoc on your lungs. If that happens enough, you'll have asthma.
Yeah.
That's kind of, it just seems to be how it works.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, if you can find a way to not live near a very heavily trafficked area, you should try to do that.
Yeah.
Because that's not going to be great for your kids when they're developing.
Yeah.
Okay, that would be the number one way to stop having your kids get asthma, if you can do it. In the meantime, we should find ways to make it so that there's less particulate matter on the roads, right? But that also includes tires and crap there's tons of things that get down to less than 2.5 microns.
Yeah.
Which I know it seems like a tangent, but
No, it's not a tangent at all.
My other side of the other
mind,
says I don't think it's a terrible idea to eliminate that completely anyway. I mean, if it's not a problem for people over time, I don't, because I think you can cook pretty well with electric stoves. At least most of us. Let the chefs have if they need the gas, give them an exemption. That's cool.
Yeah,
I'm fine with that.
Totally.
But for the rest of us, I think that they probably can come up with, particularly if they're forced to work on it and do a better job of it, but come up with very accurate, very specific electric stoves.
Yeah.
That heat it up the way you want it to. Yeah. I think that's probably possible.
Yeah.
I don't think our electrical grid could handle it right now. I still think that we're having trouble enough keeping power on with all the changes we're making as it is.
Absolutely.
But I don't disagree with over time. Let's have less pollution in the in the homes, right? I'm the kind of, we live in a house where we take our shoes off.
Same.
When we get in the house and don't bring that into, because that's less pollution as well.
Yeah.
Different kind of pollution, right?
Yeah.
But so I think that I think that if we're trying to be cleaner, that's good.
Yeah. I agree.
Right. I don't feel the same about this necessarily as I do about a fireplace, and that's only because sometimes I mean, look, if you don't have enough food, you're going to die.
Right.
So obviously food's important and cooking it is important, right? But man, when you can die really quickly if it gets incredibly cold and you can't get heat going. So I just don't think that removing something like a fireplace that for most people is kind of a luxury, it's something they use sometimes anyway, or when there's an emergency, is something that you need to take away.
I agree.
Right? The stoves, if you've got a good replacement, a good solution, and I still can have my fireplace to cook in an emergency,
we're fine. We're fine. Yeah, and I think that whenever
and don't take away my propane.
Don't take away your propane.
No, don't take away my barbecue outside.
I told them to come take it, but I won't now. I'll tell them to not take it.
Yeah.
I need my propane.
I just thought, don't mess with my barbecue because that's another way. That's another emergency cooking situation.
Thing. I know. And we are of the mind, I am, and you are, I know that if anybody is making a development or a research and they're going, hey, by the way, we've run the numbers and we think that this would be harmful and you should get it out of your house. I'm all for health and improvement. I'm all for it. And I think that when I first heard this thing, the first thing I thought of was, I was like, who's stuck with gas stoves the majority of the time are lower income families. Yep. That's what you get. That's the default. And I thought, if they're hearing it now and they're going, oh, great, I got to go out and buy a new fancy schmancy stove because my kids are getting poisoned. I'm here to say that's not the case. That's not probably what's happening.
It's not what's happening.
Yeah.
Your kids are not getting asthma from the stove.
Right. And if you've lived in big apartment buildings, especially in cities like LA where I live, you have a parking garage. You have all these places where cars are coming in, parking in this little, space that's underground. There's tons of people.
Running, carbon dioxide
engines
going,
running,
sure.
waiting, getting outside. And they're waiting for their kid to get out. There's a school bus sitting outside running. I mean, there's a million things that you're breathing in all the time that need to be fixed and regulated.
Yeah.
So right now, I'm going to give you things that you can do to help ventilate if you're worried about it, but you can't get rid of the stove. We're going to offer you some advice.
Yeah.
And then when you go buy a new one, when the time arrives, it's time to look into, hey, can I have an improved version of this? Or maybe there'll be regulations and your building will be like, hey, we're going to put in some, ventilation for everybody, or we're going to make sure that all these are able to be plugged in and hooked up as electrical stoves. And we're going to move in that direction.
And
that's
if the
fine.
Regulations go that way, then the electric stoves will get cheaper because there'll be more than being made. There'll be more competition and they'll get cheaper.
Yeah, they'll get cheaper and it'll become easier. But over time.
Yes,
over time.
That's the thing I want to stress to the folks. Don't get rid of your stove.
Yeah, don't get rid of your stove.
This can happen over time. Look at it, like he said. Look at it in the future. If you think like, oh, that's affordable, I can do it. Great.
Yeah.
But don't get rid of your stove.
Yeah, and nobody's coming in there again. Nobody. It said at the end of this last article on Vox, it said no one's going to walk into their kitchen tomorrow and find a hole where the gas range used to be. The NYU report co-author Jack Linke said, the bottom line is that Congress created the CPSC to ensure that consumer products, including home appliances, are reasonably safe. That's it. They're just trying to make sure that we're living our best life out there, and there's a conversation to say, hey, can we fix this and make it better? So whatever headline you're reading that makes you think that somebody either A, is coming into your house tomorrow to take your stove away and take and affect your rights, that's not happening. And then two, if you think that you're being poisoned every second that you boil some water, that's not true either.
Right.
Let's come back to the middle.
Right.
Let's have a conversation about regulations are there to help you. And you said an interesting...
The stove that you sat in front of your entire childhood while your parents were cooking thing didn't give you asthma.
No. And I was going to say, you made a really good point about chefs being allowed that there should be like a loophole.
Yeah.
Every job usually comes with an understanding that you're in an environment, like if you choose to work in certain environments, you accept the fact that you're exposed to certain things. That's part of the job. Right. An airplane pilot who's going to fly all the time knows I'm going to spend the next 30 years of my life sitting in radiation. That's an exchange.
Right.
And if you work as a chef in a kitchen...
Their time's also going to dilate.
Their what? Their time?
Yeah, we talked a little bit about this on the show in the past, too.
Really?
But their time's also going to dilate.
Really?
Yeah. Because they're going slightly faster. They're for so long, for like so many miles.
Yeah. I don't remember ever talking about this. Maybe it was on an earlier podcast. That's cool.
Yeah, time is relative.
Really?
Yeah.
For pilots?
Yeah. Time just period is relative. That's that's been
Yeah.
proven.
Yeah.
And they're
That's cool.
they're going to appear to age a little bit more slowly.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, they're actually aging at the same rate. It's just that for the rest of us, what we're seeing is slightly different than what they're experiencing because of how long they're in the air and how fast they're traveling.
That's fascinating. All the vain people in the world right now just enlisted to become pilots because they're like, I'm going to age slower.
Yeah, it's not
sweet.
It's not a lot over their entire life. Maybe like a day.
Yeah, but it's worth it. Worth it. Yeah. Hey, by the way, Spider-Man got his powers because he was exposed to a Spider-Man and radiation. So if you fly long enough, and they give you peanuts, do you become like Peanut Man? Or what other things could you combine your DNA with by riding in flights all the time? Luggage?
Yeah.
Luggage Man?
Yeah. Luggage man.
Gosh.
Terrible superheroes. Anyway, so
It's Luggage Man.
Luggage.
Yeah.
It's Luggage Man.
He belongs in this other universe we're creating.
He really does.
Yeah.
He really does. Luggage Man. It's good. Okay, so here's your tips. You ready for them? All right. Ventilate your kitchen when cooking. Open your windows while you cook. Okay? So if you got some windows nearby, open them up. That's going to help get the air circulating. Something won't hover as much. You go in your kitchen, and hey, if it's negative 20 outside, maybe that's not an option. I don't know. Use exhaust fans that move the air to the outdoors. Although this will contribute to outdoor pollution. Get out there to everybody else.
Yeah.
It does lower exposure
Again.
it's again.
Again, it's not a lot.
It's not a lot, right?
You're just not. Think about the size of the fire on the stove.
Right. It's small.
Just think about that.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
not. It's not a raging fire.
Yeah, this isn't Vox anymore, by the way.
No,
This
I
is,
know.
Yeah, I'm just letting you know it's not the crazy Vox.
To not
anymore.
yell at Vox.
Yeah, don't yell at
Look,
us.
that was a good article.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll give them credit when they do.
Because
a good job.
sometimes they can be a little bit like, whoa.
They can just incite. They like
yes.
to win the headline war.
Yeah,
Sometimes.
Yeah. Despacito, muchacho. Is that it? Does that slow down?
Despacito, muchacho. Yeah.
Despacito, muchacho. Vox. That's what I say to Vox. Slow down.
Slow down a little,
Despacito, muchacho. I'm trying to learn Spanish, guys. But anyway.
Slow down a little, Vox. That's
Slow
what he's
down.
saying.
Yeah. Anyway, so you're right. It's minuscule. It's a small flame. Use exhaust fans, move it outdoors. It does lower exposure to unhealthy air at higher concentrations in confined spaces. So turn on some ventilation, turn on some fans, open the window, get things moving.
Yeah, if you send that up into the atmosphere outside,
it's going to dissipate.
It's going to dissipate so fast.
Yeah,
it will
yeah.
not be an issue.
Yeah.
There's
yeah.
enough. There's enough of everything else out there that it will. Yes, you're
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Don't worry about venting.
Yeah, and then here's one that they make these relatively inexpensive on all levels, but you could get an air purifier. Although they do not remove all pollutants, air purifiers can improve indoor air quality. Choose an air purifier that has a clean air delivery rate, a CADR, matched to the size of your room. Air purifiers are easy to move around, so you can have it near the kitchen during the day and move to the bedroom when you sleep. Remember to replace filters when they are dirty. So, hey, if that's something, if it's on your mind and you're like, I want to do something, an air purifier.
Sure.
You think it's a waste of time?
Well, look, I think air purification's a good idea in general anyway, right?
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
clean up-
For not just the cooking. This is
Why
just for
not?
your house.
Let's just keep the area clean.
Keep the air clean.
Why
Okay.
not? I think that if you're near the stove
Yeah.
and you're cooking something, an air purifier is not going to help you too much.
It's not going to do much.
If there's a problem,
Yeah,
it's happening right there in front of you, and the air purifier is just ain't going to cut it. Buddy.
So this isn't for the person cooking; it's for everybody else in the house.
Yeah,
like the
sure.
cook is like host.
Yeah, I mean, if in the hypothetical instance that this is actually causing the people to die, the cook is the one who's host.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the last one, which is switch to electric, but it's listing a few things, okay? So switch to electric appliances for cooking. I know that's not an option for everybody, but here it says cost, clutter, and environmental concerns may guide your choices. Production of new appliances consume natural resources, and old appliances often wind up in landfills. Here are a few options to consider. Use an electric kettle instead of boiling water on the range.
Yeah. That's a really good idea.
We do that
That's
here.
a quick one. We do that here, and they're just as effective. It doesn't affect cook time, or I mean, it's just it's
a fast way.
It's actually a little easier.
Yeah. So that's a good piece of advice. An electric kettle, y'all. And it's not that power consuming either.
No, they're fine.
Very low power.
Yeah, we definitely are electric kettle fans.
Absolutely.
Around here, folks.
Okay, then it says cook with an electric slow cooker, pressure cooker, rice cooker, toaster oven, or a microwave.
Sure, vary how you're cooking.
Vary it up. Shake it
Yeah.
up in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Try some new things. Okay?
I like that.
And then the last one, replace a gas stove with an electric stove. This website, which was Harvard, I could link this on our socials. It just says, tips on making a switch and for recycling appliances. If you are a Massachusetts resident, you might qualify for a $500 rebate.
Hey.
So, hey, there's some states that offer some programs. Anyway, so these are all, it says making the switch would also help the environment because electric appliances do not rely on methane gas, but instead can use renewable energy, clean energy sources. And ultimately, taking steps to tackle climate change means taking steps for a healthier planet and a healthier you. So, again, we are of the two minds that I can see both sides here. And we made that very clear.
Yeah.
We want to protect your children. We want to protect your family. We don't want you breathing it. Noel and I both said, and EPA, everybody says these things in your house aren't good for you. And we agree, right? But this is something that you don't need to panic.
It's not as bad for you as they're making it sound. It's not causing the damage they're making. And really, the number one thing I would say if you're concerned about your children is let them play in their room or be somewhere else
While you're cooking. Yeah.
Because most of the problem is going to be right there in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Right where you are.
Yeah.
And if you do open the windows and do things like that, particularly when it's not so freezing outside, it'll dissipate fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just not. This isn't a thing. This isn't an emergency. It's been made to sound like it's an emergency. It's not an emergency.
Yeah.
If we're talking about an idyllic universe where we're not burning anything, we're just producing everything without having to worry about any kind of emissions, then we're in. Let's go for it.
Yeah.
Let's have it happen over time. I would not trade in or get rid of my gas stove until it was done.
Right.
Because it is going to go in a landfill.
It's going to go.
It is going to be. It is going to cause other problems by not being used as long as possible.
Yeah.
You have it. It works. It's fine. Keep your kids out of the room.
Yeah.
Open up a window if you're really worried about it. Cook.
Yeah. And you raised an interesting challenge that we're going to have to face, which is if we're electrifying everything, we have a lot of work to do on how we're going to power everything.
I mean,
if it's all electrified.
I'm very proud of California for pulling off, like when we had our last crazy ass heat wave.
Yeah.
And nobody thought that California could get it done, could keep the power going. Mm-hmm. We did. We somehow, in the past couple of years, we've all had to deal with rolling brownouts and with blackouts and with problems during the heat, and it's a nightmare because it's so hot.
Yeah.
And this past summer, when we got our hottest wave, we did it. We got through.
Yeah.
But one has to recognize that in order for us to do that, everybody had to pull back a little bit. We were asking people to not charge their electric cars.
Yeah, there were a lot of commercials and ad campaigns that were like, "Hey, can you just not for a few?"
Pull it back,
and everybody was like,
"Turn up the heat. Don't make yourself as cold.
Yes,
make yourself a little warm." And Californians are pretty environmentally conscious, and we're pretty. I think we're jerks on the road. We're jerks to each other.
Yeah.
But as a community, we do want to kind of generally make things better when we're on our own and you don't talk to us too much.
Right.
Yeah. And so we did.
Yeah.
Same thing with water, like the drought. Right? Californians are pretty good conservers. We're trying to not use so much water now that there's a shortage, even though it's not the average Californian's fault.
Yeah.
We're still like, okay, fine. We don't want people to, we don't want to have literally, there's cities in Central California that don't have water at all. They don't even have it.
Right.
And we don't like that in California. We want everybody to have
the water.
Have this stuff, right?
Yeah, agreed.
So the point I'm making is we pulled it off because we all worked together to pull it off.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If we're going to start doing this and going in this direction, then we really do need to look at how are we going to power it?
Yeah.
Let's honestly look at this.
Yeah.
What are we going to do? How are we going to pull it off? Because some of the solutions we're talking about will not work. The math doesn't work.
Yeah.
It doesn't add up.
No.
So we do have to look at what's a more wholesome solution.
Yeah. Yeah. How are we going to power everything?
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed. But that was the gas stoves conversation, guys. We got more heated about Greece than we did about that. We actually, I think we tackled it very balanced.
I'm gonna give Vox credit.
Yeah, right. So
It was an article that was pretty, I think.
It was pretty balanced.
Pretty calming.
Well,
Usually Vox is not calming people. Usually they're stoking people.
Totally.
And it was nice.
Agreed.
I took a lot of joy in hearing an article from Vox that was to calm people down and let them see that this isn't the end of the world.
I'm so glad you felt the same way, because I was just looking at dozens of articles as I was researching the show. And I started reading this one before I knew it was Vox. Because what I'll do is when I search a subject, I'll open window, right? And I'll just, the drill. You did this for me for a while.
I did.
And you just read. You just go headline after headline, and you read the first paragraph or two, and you go, do I like the tone?
Right.
Do I like the writer, and are they being logical?
Ladies and gentlemen, Mario has entered the room.
Do I like the tone? Do I like the style?
I can't believe it. Mario Brothers. I'm a huge fan.
I am here to tell you about the climate change. I read it and I go, first of all, is this author trying to incite a riot? I want to look for that. And if it's terrible, I'll bring it on the show. If it's awful, then I'll be like, it's coming on the show so we can point out how absurd it is.
Plus, you like this. I mean, even though it takes a lot of tykes.
Did your Aussie come out?
It just flew out. By accident.
You like your mouth breaks wind, but it's Australian wind.
It's happened my whole life. Or I'll be talking and suddenly, just one word will pop out all stupid.
Comes right out.
Okay.
Yeah.
What?
I said the articles that are inciting and crazy. I said I bring them on the show even when they say terrible things.
Even though you have to bleep me a lot when this happens, I think that you kind of enjoy when I get all hopped up.
Of course I do.
Yeah.
Of course I do. It's definitely a part of the show to see Noel get a little
lose my mind
worked up. It's definitely you caught me almost 4 years on the air.
40 years later.
Almost 4 years later, I definitely bring him things, and when I see his head turn red, I go, this is going to make for a good show.
Quality
entertainment. But anyway, so I saw that one, and I read it, and I was like, oh, I like the fact that this person is saying, hey, calm down. You don't have to get rid of your stove. You don't have to do it. And then I looked up and I saw Vox, and I was like, well, how about them apples?
How about that?
I can't believe it. They're doing a calming thing. They're not going, ladies and gentlemen, get out there in the streets and riot and raise the pickets. And
if they're not going to pull the stoves out,
we are right now.
Yeah.
So anyway.
I think this is not an appropriate thing to ask during a podcast, but what time is it?
Oh, shoot.
11:50.
11:50.
This is the perfect time to wrap up.
I got 10 minutes.
We made it.
Unfortunately, sometimes I have to leave the show to do a call at the end.
It only happens when you have one of the hosts of the Biofriendly Podcast who's also the CEO of Biofriendly.
Yeah, and I try to not. I really do. I try to give plenty of clearance.
Oh, I know. On this, look,
sometimes
you normally give me clearance.
Yeah.
But you sometimes things pop up, and that's the funny thing is that they see you on here as just, hey, Noel, good times guy. But
he's a good time.
He's a busy man. He's a busy man. So I'm grateful that he took the time. But this is the perfect time to wrap it up. And so we will wrap it up there. Thank you again for joining us this week on the Biofriendly Podcast. We hope this has been helpful and informative, and you can take this and put it in your pipe and smoke it.
Yes.
And you learned a thing or two about gas stoves.
Smoke it with an electric pipe.
With an electric pipe. Get it an electric pipe. So make sure to share the Biofriendly Podcast, spread the word, tell people about it. If you've been in a debate with somebody at a party and they were unreasonable, you can send them this episode. And you can go, see, you don't have to panic. This is what we're here for. So thank you again for all of our listeners who've been with us so long. And next week will be our 200th episode where everybody's wearing the best headphones. It's going to be great.
I can't wait.
It's going to be great.
I just can't wait to hear out of my right ear.
Veronica, I have to submit a request to purchase 3 headphones. Check.
Good ones.
I will. I'm going to. Here's what we're going to do.
Super long cords.
I'm going to do the research because the last headphones, we went into a Guitar Center and we went, these will do. I'm not doing that this time.
No, they
this
won't.
time I'm going to find the ones. It's like, you've got a hit podcast. It's about to hit your 200th episode. These are the podcasts for you. Yes, I'm looking for that headline.
Yeah.
I'm looking for that article.
that headline. Yeah, you've got a hit podcast.
and
It's
this
reaching
is-
its 200th episode. You deserve these headphones.
Yes.
That's the article you're looking for.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That or call Tim.
Yeah, or call Tim. Yeah. That's a better idea. I'll call Tim.
Yeah.
Tim, I'm calling you. We have been your beacon of light in a gloomy environment.
There are no other headlines.
That's right. And Veronica would like to say,
Stop and smell the flowers.
Oh, that's lovely.
always makes me happy.
That's
Bye.
Well
It's the
done.
Biofriendly Podcast. It's the Biofriendly Podcast.